Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. And welcome back to season 10 of the Just Saying motherfucking podcast. And today, as you've seen from the title, we're going to be talking about Jehovah, right? Um, as I said in season 9, as I said all through, seasons 10 through 12 are really going to be different. And they're different for a reason. I'm going to break like that. The reasoning behind this episode will ultimately be um the reasoning behind this episode will ultimately set the tone for why seasons 10 through 12 are so important and why I waited and why I numbered them accordingly and everything. This episode is going to be really, really impactful. Um, y'all know how I feel about religion, right? But y'all also hear me always say, understand your religion. Don't just walk away from it, right? A lot of people don't understand what I be saying when I say I don't believe in the religion because I don't have to anymore, right? There's 4 levels to the mind: belief, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I have taken the religion to the highest level of my mind, which is understanding. So I understand it. A lot of people will convince you that are in the religion that it's something that's incomprehensible. It's something that you can't understand. That's for the motherfucker who can't understand it, and for the motherfucker who refuses to understand it, and for the motherfucker who chooses not to understand, because remaining ignorant is the blessing, right? That's why ignorance is bliss. Remaining ignorant is the blessing, right? Absolving yourself of the ignorance is quote unquote the curse, right? It's all laid out in the book, but when we consider the name, right? When we consider Yahweh and what that means, Jehovah, however you want to look at it. And this is why whenever you hear me say all of the names, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, Allah, Jesus, like it doesn't matter what name I say because it comes back down to the same principle, right? You got to really analyze and deconstruct this shit. So if you've read So Frail 3 and you got to the Tree of Life chapter, you know exactly where we're going with this. But still, we're going to take it a little bit deeper beyond what So Frail ever did, right? If not, we're going to take down the rabbit hole that's going to be very beneficial, right? I'm in a different space, so it took some time to get to be able to have this conversation. I had this episode because there was a lot of nervousness. There was a lot of feelings involved about, people accepting it, people who actually wanted to hear it. And respectfully, I came to the terms, I don't give a fuck. I'm not here for the appeasement of people. I'm here to give the truth the way I know how to give the truth. So I finally made peace with fuck y'all. Respectfully. You feel me? I gotta do what I gotta do and I gotta give what I gotta give. So when we consider Jehovah, Yahweh, like that's supposed to be the name of God, right? But a lot of people don't really take the time to understand it, right? YHVH, right? Those 4 letters in Hebrew are very, very important. And they're important in the context that they tell you what God is, tell you who God is, where God is, why God is a multitude of beings. It's a plethora of things that it goes with. But what those 4 letters never tell you is that God is real. And God is, well, I ain't gonna say real. God is human. And God is a physical being like a man. You feel me? I get it. I grew up in church hearing all the time, God is not a man and he'll tell you a lie. God ain't no man. God ain't this, that, and the third, but you call him he. Like, you see, that's what fucks you up as a human being, and you don't really realize it because you get this information so young as a child that there's so much confusion that you learn to accept. We've learned our religion made us trust in confusion, confidently trust in confusion. We legit don't be knowing what the fuck is going on in this shit, but we act like we do and we pretend. We have make believe that we know exactly what's going on. We don't get none of this shit. You feel me? And I'm not saying it just because it's me. I'm just one of those people who's going to be honest with you and tell you what everybody else was already thinking. And everybody else thinks behind closed doors, but they go in and they get performative and they act like they know. You feel what I'm saying? They act like they know. I'm just happen to be one who can't do that anymore. I can't lie about shit. You feel me? I have to know what's what. And I know that's very ominous, and it's ominous for a reason, because we got to take a break. So I might be a little rusty on this before we dive heavy into this episode, because I didn't give y'all no information because I don't want to, but not until we come back. But before we dive heavy into this episode, be sure to follow me on Instagram _just_seen_. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSeen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of the podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. And as always, Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And you know the vibes. Damn, I didn't even get a subtitle for this. I got it. And you know the vibe. So that's that for this, and that's this for that. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into, damn, I just had the bitch. Where did it go? Damn, it's too early for this shit. So when we come back, we're going to dive into Yehovah, created in the image, or Yehovah, image and likeness. Y'all seen the title already, so it's already up. We're going to dive into Yehovah, image and likeness. And don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So For Real series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. Welcome back. Now, without further ado, we're going to dive into this. So first, let's start off with the name itself, Yehovah. How we got it now is how we have a name for being named Jehovah now is weird, but I get it. We're going to dive down that rabbit hole to see how we even got here in the first place, and how our belief and our understanding of the God we're supposed to serve is tainted. But it's tainted by the perception of what we think we're being told from the God that we're supposed to serve. Like, it's weird because we had to be introduced to God by our enemy. Like, I don't think, like, the shit has been going on to us for so long that we think that our start in reality, in history, and all of this shit starts with slavery and enslavement. Which means that we can't separate our enslavements from our religions, because that's where we got them. You feel me? But in getting the religions during enslavements, right, we were led to, like, it was forced. So you kind of get it for so long. Like, nobody ever understood this shit. Like, that's why I was like, we had Bible study for 500 years and don't nobody get the book yet. I only studied it for 7. I think I probably would have got it after my first one had I not been religious and in the belief, but I only studied it for 7. Collectively, as black people, we studied for 500, and we don't get it yet. I ain't the smartest man in the world, and collectively, my people ain't the dumbest people in the world. So there's no reason why it should be still going on and on and on and on and on and on and not understanding it. Because as they say, you feel me, there's always something new. It's because it's purposely manipulated and written to confuse you. Or is it written in a way in which there's a level to what you're able to understand? Right? When I say it's written to confuse you, right, I'm using that in the context that it's not meant to be understood, which means that it's written in a way for you to remain at the belief level of the mind. Makes total sense. Makes total sense when you realize the theme of every religion is to believe. You have to believe and have faith. The faith the size of a mustard seed. You have to believe, not know, not understand, and which fucked me up, because in the Bible, that's where I come from. I come from Christianity, but Bible is just the oldest. It's the oldest Abrahamic religion, and we're all under Abrahamic religion. So if you can understand one, you can understand them all, because they all cousins or siblings, however you choose to look at it. But the books themselves and the doctrines themselves are siblings, because the people our cousins, our brothers, siblings. So they're cousins, right? The siblings created the offshoots, which makes the offshoots the cousins, right? This is important because when we're reading this context and this information, we're reading it under the premise that we're not meant to understand it. There's literally words in the book that says, lean not on your own understanding. Wow. But it tells you all through that motherfucker to continually believe, 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 believe. Don't know, don't experience, don't understand, but believe. When we consider what the name Jehovah is, right? Now we call it Jehovah, or whatever the case may be. Even that's limited because the name itself, YHVH, the 4 letters, denote the us that we're talking about. So there's 2 points, right, that are very, very important. In the Bible, it talks about in the beginning, God was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. I think that's John 1:1, right? And then, where is it at? I forgot where. I think it's in Exodus when, Moses asked. Yes, definitely Exodus is Moses. Moses asked God what his name is. God says, I am that I am. Right. In some context, you'll get I am that I am. But in the older context, before they translated and put the thing down, flipped it and reversed it. Well, look, before they did all that shit to the motherfucker, right? It was YHVH. Like you could actually find these 4 letters in the name, YHVH. Now, this is why this is important. This is why it ties into the context of understanding that every religion has an allegorical piece to it. Starts off as mythology, goes into the ritual, and goes into the allegory. From henceforward, I mentioned all 3 of these for a long time, but I've always given you the ritual and I've always given you the mythology. Y'all are ready for the allegory now. So now, anytime I make any kind of religious reference from here forward, yeah, I might talk about the first 2 levels, but mostly it's all going to be off the allegorical level, right? That is the highest level of the religion, right? Now, when you're taught to stay at the bottom level of the religion and the bottom level of the mind, it's subservience. You easily become a slave, or you maintain yourself as a child forever, right? And I don't want it to seem like, oh, I'm bashing the Bible or whatever. I'm just setting the scene for what we got to talk about. So between these 2 verses in this book, you find and discover that God's name is Jehovah, right? The Hebrews at the time, the people of that, like most of our ancestors, when they created languages, they never used vowels. They didn't have to, because when you put consonants together, when you need the right frequency for the word, because the vowels are emotional, consonants are not, right? So when you put that emotion, you know how to put the right emotion with the right consonant to give you the right sound. Sometimes the vowel ah is better than the vowel o, but sometimes e is better than ah. You feel me? It just depends on how the consonant string goes together, because now we have to go back to the actual sound of words, right? Because now that goes into a different level of energy. Because as I was saying, language, when you get down to the basis of language and you get down to the letters, and that puts numerology together with the shit too, right? You get to the point that you are quantifying and qualifying sound. These 4 sounds, if they are the name of God, they are of the highest quality of sound. Logically, right? Because we understand God is the highest conceptualization of the mind, or it is a representation of the highest conceptualization of the mind. So considering Jehovah, right? In Genesis, when they're making man, let me say let me start off there. In Genesis, when he's making man, it's weird because he says, let us create man in our image and likeness. Right? Everybody I know, every Christian I know, every person I know who reads it, they always ask, but they never ask. They're confused about the shit, but they just leave it alone. They be like, I always wondered why he said, let us make man, and we didn't think to ask. No, because you can't question God. You're not questioning God. You're questioning what you're reading about God. When you're programmed to believe that what you're reading about a deity is the deity, you got a problem. Whenever I tell people to question the religion, question the Bible, they say no, because I'm questioning God. You're not. You just been told that this is God's word. God ain't say this shit. God don't speak English. God didn't even speak Hebrew. God don't speak no language. God speaks energy. You see what I'm saying? That's why prayer is not based off of what words come out of your mouth. It's with the intention behind you speaking those words. A lot of people pray and nothing happens because they don't have intentions with those words, because they don't know how to tie energy to the words that they're speaking, right? Largely because they don't really understand how to use a vowel. You feel what I'm saying? So the speech comes off differently. So when we say, let us create man in our image and likeness, that is a powerful, powerful sentiment, but I don't think people understand the layers that it goes through, right? So now we're going to break down a whole allegory, just this one word. I know it's going to be crazy. Like, yo, Sing, your podcast usually an hour and a half. You going to give us an hour and a half of content for one word. Yes, that's how potent allegories are. And that's how potent our ancestry originally was. And that is how potent the control of the mind really is amongst the world right now. The world is being controlled, manipulated, and all of that other shit by one word. And it's a word that nobody understands. Imagine the word has been changed to the term God, but it's always been denoted under these four principles, right? So when they say, let us create man in the image and likeness, that is God speaking to itself. YHVH, Jehovah, right? But the reason why it's plural and it's us, because the four element, the YHVH represent the four elements, right? And those four elements, of course, are air, fire, water, and earth, but specifically in the correct order as far as how they're spelled out. Yod is fire. He, the first he, is water, right? The Vav is air. And then the second he is earth, right? Air, fire, water, and earth. The reason why there's two, now the two he's, the first he, which is associated with water, is created with creativity. Is associated with creativity, and the second head is created with manifestation. Creativity and manifestation are similar, just different levels. Now they change based off of the yod head, the yod and the vav, right? But even deeper than that, we're gonna just keep it on a simple level of air, fire, water, and earth, right? So now these four letters that are representative of God are representative of the four foundational elements of creation. There's actually seven, but according to what we're talking about right now, and which we're going to branch out, there are four foundational elements to creation, and that is what makes Yahweh, right? So when you're creating the image and likeness of God, you are creating the image and likeness of Yahweh. You are creating the image and likeness of the four elements: air, fire, water, air, and earth. Air, fire, water, earth, however you associate them, right? But deeper than that, the reason why it is an equal thing. So now when people say, God be like, there's no greater God before me, that's some fucked up shit. But you're using four total gods because we know that a God is the highest conceptualization of mind. So when God says, let us make man in our image and likeness, he's speaking with three other equals. They're not beneath him. They're equals. And you know this because when you understand the elements of air, fire, water, and earth, according to how they're associated with Yahweh and Jehovah, they are worlds. They're not just elements. They're worlds. They let you. So now you have to go into esoteric science. When you go into esoteric science and esoteric magic specifically, you will learn that these four cardinal points, the Yad Hevave also denotes the four directions, also denotes anything that's foundational for the four seasons, the cycles of life. Everything is based off the number four. Now you see why the number four is so fucking important. Four is a very, very important number. That's why they completely want to keep us off of that. This is important too on this level because the number four is even, right? It denotes rhythm. That's why naturally we on 2 and 4 when we make beats, when we're on beats, and other people are on 1 and 3. Two totally different frequencies, right? Which means that naturally we associate with different gods on a higher level. They have to give us these physical levels because rhythmically, cosmically, we associate with different gods. We're not serving the same gods, but we're forced into serving a God that's not ours because we're based off of the number four. other people are based off the number 3, and you can see it in how they dance. Not on no funny shit. And anything just saying white people or whatever the case may be. No, every other race of people who has no rhythm dance off 1 and 3. There's no rhythm. It's because they're using off 3s instead of 4s, because it's a different type of melanin. Because it's also based off of a different element. Eumelanin is selenium based. Pheomelanin is sulfur based. The sulfur based melanin ultimately makes you move to 1 and 3. The selenium base makes you move to 2 and 4. But even deeper than that, it makes you have a different association with the number 4 and the settings of number 4 and the energy of the 4. Because now we, like I said, we take it higher and we get it back up to Yahweh and Jehovah. And then we see that we have the 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. But these 4 elements are actually worlds, according to the esoteric side of it. And these 4 worlds come together. It's not just 4 things of linear progression. Oh, first air, first fire. No. These things can all intertwine with each other, because now these worlds come together. Fire, air is not just air as far as we see it in the earth. It spins around that no, it's an actual world, right? You have to look at the world of air. You feel what I'm saying? You have to look at the world of fire. You have to look at the world of earth. You have to look at the world of water. And looking at these worlds have to come together, right? So here's where it's dope, because now associating it with the biblical perspective, and we taking it back to the allegory. When we look at the 4 elements, they are all denoted by triangles in some way, shape, or form. You feel what I'm saying? Fire is the triangle with the point facing north, I guess, up. Again, another 4 element, right? Water is the triangle facing down. Of course, it's going to be opposite of fire, right? Now, air is a triangle facing up, but it has a line at the peak, right? Just below the pointing up triangle. So it points up, but it has a line underneath the peak. It's very important that you understand why that line is there, right? And I'm gonna explain why. And then Earth is the opposite of the air. It has a downward facing triangle with the line at the bottom by the peak. The reason why I'm saying that is because these 4 elements, air, fire, water, earth, when these symbols, the different triangles, are juxtaposed over each other and laid over each other, you get the Star of David. Star of David is Yahweh together as one. Is when the word comes together. In the beginning, God was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. That word now becomes the Star of David. Now, in the 2-dimensional perspective, right? Because you're literally just laying 2D figures on each other, the triangle, right? Now, when it becomes 3-dimensional is because when you add how these elements interact with each other. So how God interacts with itself, let us create man in image and our likeness. You take these 4 elements, air, fire, water, and earth, and then you create the 4 modalities and the 4 reactions between these elements, which is hot, dry, cold, and damp. Yeah, hot, dry, cold, and damp. Yeah, or hot and wet, cold and damp. But either way, these modalities have to come together. So when these 2 worlds come together, so fire, if I'm not mistaken, fire and earth are what make hot, or dry. No. Fire and earth make dry, or is it air and earth make dry? See, I should have wrote this down before I got into it. Let me backtrack just a little bit. From the perspective of how they play out, water and air, I'm pretty sure water and air make cold. Water and air make cold. Earth and water make damp. Fire and air make dry. Fire and earth. No. Fire and earth make hot. And then fire and air. No, fire and all right. Fire and earth make dry. And then fire and air make hot. Just as air and water makes cold, and air and water makes cold, air and earth makes damp, right, or wet. Okay, that means that these worlds now come together. So now, when these worlds now come together, now you get the 3D version of the Star of David, or the 6-point star, whatever. And now when it becomes 3D, it becomes the Merkabah, or Metatron's cube, depending on how you're studying. Metatron's cube is something that is associated with Christianity, but the Merkabah is something that is associated with spirituality as the sense of the light soul body. It's the vehicle that creates us. So now Back to, when we meditate, they teach you to meditate in your Merkaba, and that's how you travel. Your soul is connected within the center of the Merkaba. That's where your light is. That's what houses your light. Now, in order to house your light, you have to understand the elements that create that. You feel what I'm saying? Which, like I said, gives you the four elements y'all have out here, right? To be created in the image and likeness of a deity means that you are an amalgamation of the four elements and the four modalities that the elements create: air, fire, water, and earth, hot, cold, damp, and wet. Again, four, which is wild because when you're naturally being human, when they try to teach you, oh, you're bipolar, you can't. Like, you're gonna, like, they multiple personalities, they got us believe in multiple personality disorder is like a disorder. No, it's being human. Because I've learned just observing these last couple years and shit, motherfuckers have taken personality traits and made them diseases. Crazy, because they've been fucking us up like that for a long time. So motherfuckers really think something's wrong with them because they're normally themselves. They're not normal by societal standards, but they are themselves normally. They are created literally in the image and likeness that they're supposed to be created in. Right? But they don't know that. They're now molded into the image and likeness that somebody else wants them to be, and they walk into the mold perfectly. So much so that your parents will push you and encourage you to go into the mold to completely erase yourself while telling you that you believe in but you got to go to church every Sunday. You know how much of an atheist you really are when you're not living your true self because you already created a certain way. This is a quick tangent, but I feel like it's necessary to say right here. One thing that people say about me is like, because my podcast, Profane. Y'all hear me. I talk shit. I cuss. I do all that. Like, they're like, yo, your deities or whatever the case may be, whatever it is you serve, you can't talk like that. Why? Why? Because we tie religion to performative behavior and not actually being. You really think, you feel me? If y'all really believe in the book and everything the way you say you do, you feel me? There's a verse in there that says, "For I knew you before I formed you in the womb." That's a powerful sentiment to understand. When you hear it on a mythological level, you're just looking at it from, oh, God already knew my heart. He knew who I was going to be, whatever the case may be. Exactly. So if you are in atrocious conditions, if you grew up in poverty, if you grew up in a space where that made you feel like you were where you were supposed to be, that's where you were needed, which meant that if I knew you before I formed you in the womb, I knew everything about you. If God is omnipotent and can see the future, past, present, all of that stuff, then I knew that the reason why I'm putting you here is because what is going to make you, I'm gonna drop my damn phone, what is going to make you become. This is why I laugh at religious people when they be like, yo, I give my problems to God. He gave them to you for character building. No wonder your character doesn't build. I don't know funny shit. Just keep it in 100. Every religious person I know, once they go through trials and tribulations, they I got to give it to God when he gave it to you. Makes no sense really, but it makes a lot of sense when the purpose of the indoctrination is to promote confusion. You're not supposed to understand this shit. You're supposed to constantly be confused by it, then accept the confusion, and then act like the confusion is right. Oh, cause see, you just don't know that spiritual realm stuff. Oh, nah, see, that's in the physical. See, that's why you got to understand it for yourself. You just trying to justify not understanding it. You just trying to unjustify your confusion. Because when somebody actually presents you with some concrete shit, now you get that little squint like, oh shit, damn. But it fucks with you because you never understood what God was. You always feared it. So imagine being created in the image and likeness of something that you're not supposed to understand. That's crazy, right? That makes no sense. Like, it's weird that I gotta serve it, but I am it. That's crazy. So I'm saying that to say this. When people say like what you become, it's like I was, if whatever God it is that you believe in, I call it the source. You know what I'm saying? I know it created me, but it's like I wasn't put in poverty. I wasn't put in these situations. I wasn't raised by a single mother. I wasn't put in these situations for nothing. I'm where I'm supposed to be. So who I am because of those situations, the product of the environment, that's what the world needed. That's what was supposed to fill my purpose. That's what a lot of people don't get. Every experience of your life is designed to help you fulfill the purpose that you're here to fulfill. But y'all out here giving y'all shit back to the deity that gave it to y'all for character building. Weirdos. And you wonder why you can't grow as a person because you keep trying to pray for some divine philosophy that just drop into your head. No, the divine philosophy comes when you heal your pain. Y'all think I just say this shit just because I be, trying to sound woke and sound cool. No, your purpose is literally found on the other side of your pain. Whatever it is that and that's why people be like, I don't know what my purpose is. You'll never know what your purpose is until you heal. Plot twist, nobody has one purpose. You're purposefully put here for anything that can hurt you. You're not here for the shit that you're not here to give back to the shit that doesn't hurt you, that doesn't affect you, that you don't have to get over. Because there's no essence behind it. There's no explanation as to how you got over it. You're only here to show how you got over pain. Because we're in a painful world. You have to show people how to get back to joy. But we rather stay bitter and stay, like I said, we give it to the deity who gave it to us. The deity just got the shit sitting there. Like, we be really thinking that the deity is working on it. This is why motherfuckers be waiting 10, 15, 20 years for something they gave to a deity 30 years ago. They're still waiting on that to be changed because the deity's like, I'm not solving this problem. That's why it's yours. You feel what I'm saying? So now, when we're creating the image and the likeness of a deity and we're placed somewhere, that deity knows who we were before we were even created. Nothing is accident at that point. At some point, you have to realize that this is exactly the life I was supposed to live. I can't bitch and complain about none of this shit. You see what I'm saying? I have to figure out why. You feel what I'm saying? And again, this isn't to gloat, but this is just to acknowledge the proof. The proof is in the pudding. I have pudding up. I already got all the pudding put up. So you feel me? Me healing from being raised without a father and being raised by a single mother, according to the system designed for that, led to So Frail. That was one of my purposes for being here. You feel what I'm saying? Growing up in a well-fed family, but still being malnourished because we did not have the conceptualization of nutrients and the necessary nutrients and vitamins and resources the body needs to build itself. I was malnourished, which led to the Hitting the Raw program and understanding what needs to be in your body and what you need to eat right. You feel me? Pain doesn't always have to hurt. You feel me? Purpose is found on the other side of your pain, but your pain doesn't always have to hurt. That part didn't hurt me. You feel me? Because I was still well fed. So there wasn't like an actual pain. It's like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm starving, I'm this, that, and the third. No, I'm malnourished. There's a whole different reality to that. You feel what I'm saying? But again, it was on the other side. That was another pain that I had. And healing the pain, it's like, there's purpose in this motherfucker. You feel me? Growing up in poverty, never having money, not necessarily never having money, but only having money for bills. And no money for recreation, no money for fun shit. Like, there's levels to that shit. You really believe, hear me well when I say this because I stand adamantly on this. You really believe that you were created by a deity that has you in situations and conditions that you're not supposed to be in? No, you got to figure out why you're in them. And then that lets you maneuver the world better because now you realize, oh, this is what I'm here for. And now everything that has the potential to cause pain to you, there's purpose in it. There's purpose in it. That's why so many podcasters, that's why so many motherfuckers right now are able to run a game because they making a purpose out of the pain. And that's why everybody's talking about relationships because that's the only pain they're willing to face because everybody else wants to deal with that pain too. But they're not facing the pain and actually healing from it and can give you like the concrete sides of actually after the purpose. They're in the process of healing through the pain, but they're running into a stagnant place because they're in the process of healing, presenting themselves as if they're healed. My podcast, my content, my relationship advice did not come in the midst of me healing from the relationship. This is why I talk about it so nonchalantly sometimes where it's like, where I don't have to get triggered. Like, yeah, that bitch did this, that, and the third. I can tell laughing stories and be like, yo, you feel me? Like I did. And that's why I have the bigger picture of why those situations happen. Because I'm able to see beyond the surface level of the mythology of something. And I'm able to see the allegorical perspective of what it actually represents. So like I said, I'm using that to say There's no way in hell I can conceive that a deity or anything would create me in its image and likeness and not have me in situations that I'm not supposed to be in. So when I now present myself to the world, a lot of people, you're not professional, you're not this. Bitch, I'm not trying to be none of that shit. I'm purposeful. You feel what I'm saying? The conditions, the environment, the circumstances, everything that I grew up in was for a reason. This is who the world, this version of what the fuck I am right now, this is what I was supposed to become. The environment, my experiences, life, what catalyzed me, everything, every trial and tribulation that I went to was supposed to bring me here. Why wouldn't I be that? Like, really sit with that and ask yourself that question. If this is the person you were born into, this family, like, I'm gonna show you how deep this shit really get. I'm gonna get it back. I'm gonna get it back. I'm gonna bring it all in. But I'm just gonna show you how. Again, I'm gonna get back to the YHVH here, right? So we understand. If you understand from the biological perspective that when a woman is pregnant with a girl, there's 3 generations sitting there. When my grandmother was pregnant with my mother, I was there. When my other grandmother was pregnant with my father, I wasn't. But those two, like, that's where my creation started. When both of my grandmothers got pregnant with my parents, my creation started there. Specifically when my mom's mom got pregnant with my mama. That's where my creation started. Here's how deep this shit is. Because even their life, the life of my grandmothers, right, began the first developmental phases of creating me. And I don't think we spend enough time understanding the depths of that shit, because now it's like my soul incarnated into a space that had to go through 2 generations of shit just to say, this is the 2 generation of shit that you have to be born into that's going to catalyze you into being the best person you could possibly be to complete your purpose. A lot of us don't look at it like that because we don't know how to look at it like that. Because we're so busy, they teach us to play the victim. Slavery was a motherfucker. Slavery was a motherfucking psyop because it damaged us so bad that we are accepting ourselves as being victims. Victims who win, and we beg for a win. We don't know how to win. We have to hope that we win. We don't know that we can turn this victimhood into victorship easily. We don't have to be victims. That is a choice. But your options aren't presented to you that way. Your options aren't presented to you that way. Therefore, you can't understand yourself that way. So when I say my grandmother's conception, like the life that they were supposed to live, is the life that they were supposed to live is so potent that it's like you had to live a certain way that led you to be able to be pregnant by that particular man at that particular time to create this particular child that is going to ultimately grow up, live a life that is going to allow them to gravitate towards each other, right? To have a child at a specific time. And that child has to be born into certain circumstances that your 2 mentalities are going to, whatever you 2 collaborate with, is going to create that child to be in an environment that, if it solves its environment, it now turns into what it's supposed to turn into and finds its purpose when it heals its pain. That's crazy. This is why I don't look at it like, I can't look at my life through the victimhood. I have to look at it from the start. I'm like, damn, I was given this. I was put in this environment to be this. So now, the reason why I mentioned that part is because now when I do the profanity, people say, "Oh, this ain't listening to you. This ain't," like, no. My deity, whatever it is that created me, it listens well because I am what I was supposed to be. Like, when I tell y'all the reason, like when I pray, I talk like this, or when I communicate with my ancestors and my guides and all of that shit, I talk like this, is because, motherfucker, they knew what the fuck I was coming. They knew what I was coming in for, where I was coming in for, when I was gonna come in, and nigga, this is who I was supposed to become. You feel what I'm saying? All of this shit, like, if we really gonna honor that this deity knew us before we were formed in the womb, nothing should surprise us about the condition that we're in. We should be excited by the condition that we're in. It's like, oh, this is how motherfuckers wanted me to start off? Okay. Because now we get to a point where it leads us down. They understood that when they gave us the religion, right? So now, when you heal your pain, you have to do something with it. When you heal your pain, that's where your purpose comes in, because now you have the medicine for the people that have pain. However, if you don't know how to wire your mind right, your mentality is going to either it's going to lead to a different outcome. You now become performative, you now behave. The pain I had to heal from, it made me angry while I was healing from the shit. You feel what I'm saying? They don't want you to get to that point. They want you to remain angry. They want you to remain in a space where, just keep giving it to your deity. Now, why are you feeling this anger? Why are you feeling this depression? Why are you feeling this anxiety? Why are you feeling these things? Because understanding these things is a part of why I put you in this environment, to give you these experiences. But you medicate yourself instead of healing it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, fuck that. Just stop the pain. No, the pain is for a reason. The pain is to get to healing. The healing is to get to recovery. The recovery is to heal, so that way you can get your purpose. And when you get your purpose, you can give it back to the world. That's why it's so shocking to people how I can articulate so motherfucking well without being articulate. What I mean by that is, like, I don't necessarily have to come off like I'm doing a college presentation and shit, and I can still deliver the same way as the efficacy would be if I was a so-called scholar and shit. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's different. It's different. What I did was so frail, nobody will ever do again. You know why? Because men don't want to heal the pain. I'm gonna tell y'all something about the ethers, and this ties into the YHVH, the elements, right? Within the ethers, the heavens, where God sits, or whatever the case may be, it's coming down. The moment somebody gets the shit, it's coming down. Y'all, there's a reason why there's all these conversations now about masculinity. It's not an accident. The problem is there's no purpose in these conversations, because nobody's healed the way they're supposed to in order to get the actual definition of what it is. You see what I'm saying? Masculinity would have came down anyway. The analysis and deconstruction mental, like, it would have came down anyway. But it's not until somebody heals that they can grab it from the ethers and see exactly what it was meant to be. Nobody's done this work that I've done. You see what I'm saying? But nobody is comfortable with accepting that they've done the work. Everybody wants to argue about the work that they're doing, because they're playing like they're healed, but they're just numbing themselves, and they're coming out. They're getting podcasts now. A lot of these people, these are purposeless podcasts because they have not healed. You see what I mean? And they also, in not healing, they also have not respected and appreciated why they're here. I've learned to. Every fight I've been in, every motherfucker that I've, fuck with in life, it just, you know what I'm saying? It's a reason. I'm like, oh, this is why I pay close attention to all of my experiences, because I understand that each one of these experiences is designed closer for the purpose that I'm supposed to be. So now all of that was to mention how, when I speak to my deities, when I converse with the elements, the image and likeness that I'm made in, YHVH, when I speak to those worlds, that's where I'm trying to get my clarity from. But I'm coming from a perspective of, bitch, y'all know how I get down. And I say, bitch, I'm not talking to y'all disrespectfully, but I'm speaking in the moment. It's an exclamation point or some shit. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you know how in Spanish, in Spanish, when they put like exciting words or questions, they put the shit in front of the motherfucker too, upside down or whatever. It's for a reason, because I'm going to start off letting you know that this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Why am I going to be performative and behave? That's why motherfuckers be like, yo, prayer. That's how prayer don't work. You ever been praying for some shit? Like praying, like you praying for the shit, and it don't happen. But then when you out chilling with your friends and you chilling with people and you start talking about what you prayed about, you notice that's when it starts coming. Don't shit move when you pray. And this is why people think prayer works, because they don't know how to do it. So when they think they fall on their knees and they praying, dear God, give me this, that, and the third, blah, 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 they think they praying and they not. They don't pray until they go back and be themselves with what they're talking about. And that's when it starts to manifest, because when the time starts to run and you've already prayed or whatever the case may be, as it gets closer to the time, that's why, they say it may not come when you call him, the prayer, but he's always on time. Because when you start talking about it as it gets closer to when you need it, that's when you're speaking as yourself. You're not performing. You're not, dear Lord, I don't know what I'm going to do about this because I need you to help me with this. And you begging and shit. But when you're around your homie, yo, bro, look, dog, like, I got to get this paper. So if I do this, blah, 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 da, 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 da. And then next thing you know, shit start manifesting itself once you said it. Now you tie it to when you prayed, and it wasn't when you prayed, it's when you spoke. Not only when you spoke, but when you spoke as yourself. Because your deity created you in its image and likeness. So it knows what the fuck environment that you're in. And it knows that whatever environment I have you in, I know what catalyzes the best out of you when you heal yourself from that pain. And then now you become like what the deity wanted you to be. And I know, you said this was going to be about YHVH. Well, I don't know. I like rabbit holes, and I had to set my motherfucking scene, because now we can go into the next phase of all of this shit. Right? If you're creating the image and likeness of the deity or whatever the case may be, and you're in certain environments and you now acting like you want to behave and perform, what are you behaving and performing for? Heaven? This is why I tell people, they tell me all the time, oh, I don't know if I'm going to see you in heaven. I know that's because I'm going to be there and you're not. I say, y'all better hope that heaven ain't real. I mean, because I'm going. If it is real, I'm definitely going. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. It's all some shit like, oh no, I seen you talk shit about it. No, you also see me fulfill my purpose. And I don't think people realize, like, people think purpose is some grandiose shit. Like, they think it's like, oh, when I fulfill my purpose, I'm gonna die and this, that, and the third. Hello, motherfucker, I'm still here. No, you fulfill your purpose. Your purpose is on the other side of your pain. Whatever hurts you in life, there's pain that you heal from, and you give it back to the world, because everybody's gonna go through the similar pains. That's what life is about. Your purpose is found on the other side of your pain, to give joy. When you heal your pain and you discover your purpose, that's how you give joy to the people who are affected by that pain. And you bring balance to the world. The people who fuck with me in regards to masculinity, pain was inflicted on you by masculinity in some way, shape, or form. So the person who understands, who has gone through the healing process and got the purpose behind the masculinity, give it back and give you the joys of masculinity. And you can appreciate and have something to look forward to the healing process with. That's why a lot of people can't get the purpose, because they won't heal, because they don't know that there's joy on the other side. How many people, because none of us have really ever seen healing from our pain. We've seen other motherfuckers heal from their pain. We never seen somebody heal from the pains that we have, because we don't talk about it. Because we out here giving it to the deities and, shutting shit down. Not realizing that the deity gave it to us because we were capable of handling that shit. You feel me? Largely because we're created in the image and likeness of our deities, right? But now, when we take that into consideration, like I said, using all of this, and now this is why the Bible says, come as you are. Come as your soul was created to be. I know what life did to you. I know what you're going through in life. Why are you pretending like you're not? Why are you pretending like I don't see this shit? Why are you pretending like I did not give you this shit to use? All you keep hearing is get into the markets. But do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, Forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest, and if you should do stocks, Forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Mastering the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it? To figure out how to be. You see what I'm saying? But we choose not to. because we have to go back and read the context, and we have to figure out. We give it to a deity. We pray. We talk to other people to pray for our. Like, no, nigga, solve the fucking problem. That's why I tell y'all masculinity is gone. Masculinity is one of the reasons why we can't heal. The lack of masculinity is why we can't heal, because we don't know how to analyze and deconstruct our pain to find our purpose. Bars. Right. So when we're looking from the dynamic of how well will I be able to make this full connection, it's really low, because we, like I said, we make everything performative, which means that this is why things don't come to us the way that they're supposed to, which is us moving against the image and likeness. Right. So I'm saying that because I'm setting the scene so I can get into my next segue into the shit. Right. So when we look at these four elements, right, and then we look at how these four elements interact. Now, when we understand that these four elements are worlds, and they come together, we also know that these worlds create the astrological plane. Understanding these worlds, understanding that air, fire, water, and earth are worlds that have to interact with each other, it changes things. Because now, when you look at, okay, this is why I tell you the image and likeness that you're created in is your natal chart, right? So now, when we understand the breakdown of the four elements, right? I mentioned that water was creative and earth was manifest, right? Because those two are both he, yod he, vav he. But although you see the same letter, they have a different denotion because it's a different world. So when we look at the fire element, right, it is archetypal. Basically, it's foundational. So now when we look at that image of what that world represents, it can be divided into three subsets: Leo, Aries, and Sagittarius. The worlds, the many worlds were created within the world of fire, is divided into Aries energy, Libra energy. Aries energy, Leo energy, and Sagittarian energy. Why are those important? Because they go through the different phases of the self. Aries is the child, Leo is the adult, Sagittarius is the elder. Every element goes through that. Right. So within the archetypal realm, archetypal world, which is the foundational world, which is what that represents. It also represents wands too. That's a whole different thing we looking at in tarot. I can't go down so much because y'all know I'm trying to keep this episode short, but I'm gonna give y'all pieces to do your due diligence. So within this one world, you have these three representations within this world: Aries energy, Leo energy, and Sagittarian energy. Right. That's all fire. Okay. That's just one variation of part of the image that you created in. Right. So now when we look at water, as I said, is denoted creativity, is the creative world. So the fire world is archetypal. The water world is creative. Now within the water world, what do you have? You have, what is it? Pisces, Cancer. Pisces, Cancer. Is Scorpio water? I want to say it is Scorpio, because it ain't Capricorn. That's Earth. Sagittarius is fire. So I think it would be Scorpio. Scorpio ain't an air sign. So yeah, Scorpio is water. Yeah. So the three variations of the water have Pisces, you have Scorpio, and then you have Cancer. Those are the variations of water, right? So within that world, it's again the different levels of maturity, the child, the adult, and then the elder in that space, right? So then after that, you have the formative world, which is air, right? So then you have the air signs. You have your Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, right? Those are your air signs. Those are the three ways in which that plays out. Then, of course, you have your earth area that represents the manifest side, right? That's the world of manifestation. The world of manifestation is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Okay. These points, now we're looking at it from a bigger perspective. This is all God. So now we're looking at it that you have these four worlds. Within these four worlds, you have different, let's say, countries, I guess. Three different countries or continents, I guess. Fire, water, and then the three delineations from the astrological perspective, right? So this is the image and likeness as a template, right? So now, when we also consider those four elements, right? And like I said, those four elements are the foundational. Then you have sound, light, and thought, right? Those elements that work as well. And sound, light, and thought, they help promote time or whatever the case may be. But you know what? I'm gonna stick to here because that's too much. I ain't gonna. Y'all already got too much information. We gotta wait until season 11 for that second part, or at least have a season 10. It's only episode 1, but yo. So those are the four worlds, right? So within those four worlds, you have the three subsets divided into the image and likeness. So you have to understand what the air sign is, the fire sign is, the water sign is, what that sign is, and then to know how that sign is there. So let's say for me, I'm an Aries or whatever the case may be. So that's my sun sign. Now, as me being the Aries according to my sun, those are one of the worlds that are naturally a part of me. You feel what I'm saying? One of the countries that are naturally part of me because I'm in the world of fire, right? So that's a part of the Yah, right? Which is funny because when we look at what the name is changed to from from Jehovah to Yahweh to Jehovah right now, to you listen to the Rastafarians when they say Jah bless and shit like that, they're just saying fire. Because the J represents the fire. It's just the world of fire, right? Jah bless, like, you feel me? But there's other aspects of God that we have to learn more about that are part of the four elements, the images and the likeness that we're in. So now, when we take this imprint, right, this ties into a deeper aspect because now astrologically, in addition to the signs, those signs are all in the stars. And we have to cycle through each of these signs. From Aries to Pisces, the 12 signs all the way around. The sun, the planetary position is almost like the moment we're born is like a screenshot. And the location of the stars and the planets and everything, when we took that screenshot, that is the image and likeness that we individually are created in of God. The reason why is because they're like, so when does it actually start? It starts the moment you come out of the womb fully because, and this is why they put your time on your birth certificate, when you come out of the womb fully, because that is the moment when all the neutrinos from the planetary bodies are now affecting you. So now what a neutrino is, neutrinos are basically like the building blocks of atoms. I know people, oh, atoms are supposed to be the building blocks. You have neutrinos, you have quarks and quasars and type shit, and then you get the atom, right? And then from the atom, you get the elements and they build all the way up, right? But neutrinos are that subtle. These are the energy influxes that directly come from the celestial bodies. Sometimes they'll call them solar, like when it comes from the sun, they call it a solar prominence or a solar flare. Like these scientists documented this shit. They just call it a certain name. So just know that when I'm saying it, it ain't just me pulling it out my ass. It's just me observing and telling y'all what the fuck is already here, right? So when we come into this plane, the moment we come out of the womb, that's when the neutrinos affect us, right? That's when we absorb all of our neutrinos. We absorb them through the top of our head. That's why babies have the soft spot or whatever the case may be, blah, blah, blah. And then it has to heal because we're still absorbing the neutrinos up until that point. We absorb the neutrinos necessary for us to respect the planetary body. So now, while we're in the womb, we're not absorbing any neutrinos. That's why women are born in water. The neutrinos don't penetrate water. Not only do they not penetrate, let me not say that. They do penetrate water. They don't penetrate the amniotic water in the womb because it's protected by skin. So while the mother is being affected on the prominence level from the natural, just walking around every day through the neutrinos that the baby is protected because it's not your time to have neutrinos yet. It's not your time to have neutrinos yet. It's not until you actually come into the womb that your neutrinos hit that activate your natal chart. It says, bam, here's your screenshot. This is what you are. Your sun is in your 7th house. This is in this house. This is in this house. So now, when we look at that created in the image and likeness of the deity, now, when that deity said that, it is speaking in a space that is home. So it's like these houses are also important when we look at astrology or whatever the case may be, because all of those serve a point. So now, when you look at how you're creating the image and likeness, like we're looking at natal charts. We're using natal charts for synastry. Ooh, are we compatible? No. Stop asking that dumbass question. Don't look at your natal chart for compatibility. Stop looking at your natal chart for, oh, I just want to learn myself. Because everybody that I know that reads natal charts, you only pay attention to the negative shit. The positive shit you don't amplify and get excited for. And you just, oh my God, this is so me. Oh, I'm going to have this. Is going to be so hard. Shut the fuck up. With your punk ass. Shut the fuck up and learn this shit for real. Nah, I'm bullshit. But no, your natal chart, stop looking at it as, I want to be compatible. This is what it is. Yo, how your natal chart is literally how you are God. Your numerology stamp, because even with numerology, from it being your name, you know what your name is, and break it down to the numbers and the elements and everything. All of that shit is strategically done. It's off of a higher level, higher order of why we do this. But specifically astrology, when you have your natal chart, that is how you are God. It's never a question. Like, you feel me? That's why when you go back into the Bible, you read Psalms 82 and 6, it says, ye are gods. When you go to John 10 and 31 or 34, Jesus tells niggas, don't your word say you are gods? Why y'all asking me? Like, you feel me? If y'all are gods or not, nigga, y'all know what the fuck you are. I'm just embracing the Messiah that I am. Because Messiah is not his last name, it's his ascension. This is why those 18 years are gone out of the book. Because when you read those 18 and you see those, what he was in the 18 years, he was ascending himself. He was understanding himself. He was seeing how he was God. He was looking at his image and likeness. You see what I'm saying? Because his screenshot was what it was. You feel me? Granted, it's all metaphorical because Jesus wasn't. Y'all know what's up. But what the story still represents is important because it's telling you how to ascend. This is why 18 years of that book is missing. And you just know that this nigga was ahead of his time at 12 in the temple's teaching. And then when you take a look at that part of it, right, you miss everything else. Because next thing you know, he's getting baptized and he's, turning, water to wine, spitting on dirt, putting it into people's eyes and all this other shit. And it's just like, the miracles are happening. And it's like, bro, that's what you're supposed to be able to do. Like, he's the center point of the character because he's supposed to be you. That's what you're supposed to be understanding this as, but you're not. So because we don't understand it as that, and we don't see it as that, we don't interpret that we can be that too. So we don't know that the stars, this is why the stars are so important. The name of the Bible, the title of it is called Holy Bible, and it starts off Holy Bible, which translates to the words Helios Biblios, which means sun book or book of the sun. We've been talking about the stars this whole time, and we don't never want to actually look at what it is that the stars represent or why. Because the image and likeness, like I said, is our screenshot. That is what's telling us, yo, this is who you are. This is how you are God. Your sun sign, then we look at, my sun, moon, and rising. Leo, like, we look at basic shit instead of the whole fucking chart. Like, you're not just the sun, moon, and rising. Like, I know motherfuckers right now who will watch tarot videos and shit, and, they watch it for, sun, moon, and rising, but they only watch it for relationship advice. You're so much more than a fucking relationship. Your whole entity who's here to, like, I'm serious, yo, change your perspective in that shit, yo. This is not to say obsess over astrology or shit like that, but change your perspective in what the image and likeness is. Your natal chart is how you're creating the image and likeness of God in totality. Taking it back to what I was talking about with the worlds. When you look at these different worlds, right? And when you look at these different worlds and you see how these worlds fully play out, that image and likeness is like, yo, I have more fire in here than this, than the third, because nigga, that's how God needed to experience himself through you. That's it. You feel me? I know a lot of motherfuckers be telling me shit like, yo, you're how are you the Aries, but like you structured and you this, that, and the third. You can't, like, cause I have my first house is full of Capricorn energy. And it's full of Capricorn energy and stable planets that don't rotate long. You feel me? My first house got Saturn and Neptune and Capricorn in the motherfucker, just all through that bitch. And that's that first house, the house of self. No wonder I'm structured. No wonder I'm disciplined. No wonder I'm this, because this is how God needed to see itself as me. Right? This is how I'm creating the image and likeness. So when I learned that aspect of it, it made me use all of my chart. I'm not just the Aries. You feel me? But now I understand why. Okay, why does this have to work with this? So now when we look at all of these pieces, it's like, yo, this is the God that you have to understand yourself. So now it's like, there. So now when you understand that this is the image and likeness that you created, so when it's now it says, put no God before me, put no other natal chart before you. Because again, your natal chart is how you're creating the image and likeness of a deity, right? That means you put no natal chart before yours, which means you put no person, no being before the creation that is yourself. But you have to understand the full creation of yourself and be able to use that, right? Because as we know, the deities, the gods, are highest conceptualizations of the mind, right? So now, how your mind is highestly conceived, it doesn't make sense, but fuck with me. But how your mind is conceived to its highest capacity is that natal chart. And that's dope because it can say, are you going to choose to be a god with this energy? Or are you going to choose to be a devil with this energy? That's it. That's why you're getting the duality of the gods and the devils, good and evil and all that shit, because your natal chart can make you do either one of those. And it's all in what you choose to do. You feel me? A lot of us think we're empty slates and we're blank slates and we got to figure this life out and shit. No, you just got to accept yourself. But this is why they give you a deity, because you have to look outside of yourself to know it. But when you actually understand it, it says, no, nigga, look within. It literally tells you where's the church at? Within. Why is the church within? Because everything you have is within you. This is why they've been telling you. It's like, yo, you're created in the image and likeness of the deity. Now, how you're created is according to how you choose to understand yourself. You can use the human design, the I Ching. You can use astrology. You can use numerology. You can use tarot. You can use all these things, but you need to understand that when these things are telling a story, they're telling a story based off of your template, not off of the template of somebody else. This is why I tell y'all got to be careful with these readings. And even in the Bible, it tells you, don't consult with medium and spiritists. The reason why it tells you not to consult with medium and spiritualists, because they have to base this experience off of their template. You feel me? You don't know theirs. So you don't know how they're delivering the message to give to you or what it is that you're supposed to give. So you're supposed to understand this for yourself, because how does this pertain to me? You feel me? This is why polytheism was real. Polytheism was because we're all creating a different image and likeness, because we come into the world at different points of time. Some people are like, so now taking it back to us looking at these four worlds, right? We're not our sun sign alone. So some of us will think that, I'm like, for example, most of my chart is Earth. Yeah, most of my chart is Earth. Which is like, people be like, yo, how do you, cause y'all think I just do fiery shit because y'all make the assumption. Y'all expect me to do fiery shit. Or y'all can only see the fiery shit that I do. Y'all can't see any other shit because you're not looking for it. Because when you see what my sign is, when you see what it is, you're going to base it off of that. You don't know what world that sign represents. I don't look at my astrology anymore as just, oh, this is my sign. No, what worlds have come together to make me? I'm an amalgamation of these four worlds. So now, take this amalgamation, and now when we look at what it is, hot, cold, water, hot, cold, wet, and damp. Wait, no, hot, cold, dry, and damp. Yeah, so hot, cold, dry, and damp. When we look at those are how these four worlds come together. So an air and a fire sign is going to make dry. That's why Aries and Libras and Geminis and Geminis and Leos and shit like that. Like, that's why their energy flows, because it makes it dries shit out. So now to offset what's dry, the energy that's created with what dry is, which is the connection between fire and air, you have to see what's the opposite of that. Wet. You feel what I'm saying? That's where the balance comes in, where you now learn how to interact with these different worlds. All of these things are you. You're not schizophrenic. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not on some other shit, bipolar. You're God. The way in which you express life is how you are God. See, the thing about it is, like, you know how in the Bible it said, where two or three come together in my name, I will be there. Nigga, yeah. But it's like we all different. So what it is, because it is like, yo, we're all the different image and likenesses of this deity just interfacing with itself. So it doesn't matter whether you call it God, Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, it all represents the same thing, right? It represents the same thing, those four letters. Now, y'all know that was only one part of that shit, because now we have to look at the duality of what it is. Because now the singularity of it is creating the image and likeness, but the duality of it is the breath. Another reason why YHVH and spirituality is what it is, because spirit means the breath, right? So it denotes balance, right? Yadhe, the first half, is inspiration. Vavhe is expiration. It's the breath. This is why the breath of life is so important, because when you breathe, Yadhe, Vavhe, you're breathing. That's the breath of life. Now, when you breathe, inspire, and you expire, that now, because it's now grouping those two things together, now that goes into how those two new worlds come together. That's when you get the second part of hot, cold, damp, wet. You feel what I'm saying? That comes when you now take the singularity and make it dual. You feel what I'm saying? And you still have to honor the balance. So in addition to the entire entity that is the self, we also have the entity that is the balance side between left and right, up and down, high and low, right or wrong. And that's what we often miss when we try to understand this information, because it's all esoteric. It's on a much more potent and deeper understanding of what it is that we're doing. You see what I mean? A lot of people can't break that down. Your pastor is supposed to teach you this. Your pastor is supposed to teach you this. So when you're meditating, they say focus on the breath, right? You focus on inspiration, you focus on expiration, because now you have to realize the allegorical perspective of it. Now, the reason why symbolisms and words are what they are, because you get a whole concept and now you have to codify it by word. When I say Palakafe, we understand it as peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, but we understand that peace is the control of chaos, knowledge is the absolution of ignorance, freedom is the ability to live and deal with the consequences, and love is a better power for betterment through correction, right? These things have principles that are stood on. So now anytime I say Palakafe, I know the string of information that comes with it. You dig what I'm saying? So supposedly when I was supposed to learn to meditate, according to the religion or whatever the case may be, every inspiration, when I take my breath in and I got to focus on the breath, I know that it represents the first yod head, which represents what is it? Fire and air? Fire and water. So the first yod head is fire and water, right? And the second, the vav head is air and earth. So the first one with fire and water, you're now, what is that, steam? That would be steam, fire and water, and then air and earth. I forgot what that would be. Um, but anywho, that's inspiration, expiration, right? Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. You got served and shit, but nah. So now, what they're not teaching is that when you focus on your breath, you're not focusing on I'm actually breathing. You're focusing on the esoteric expression of what the breath represents. When I breathe in, that's the fire and the water. What worlds are fire and water? So now we understand that fire is the archetypal world and water is the creator world. So now my inspiration, when something inspires you, what does it do? It makes you creative and makes you want to do something, gives you the archetype and the creative energy, those two worlds. It inspires you. You took that in. And now when you expire, you breathe out, you have formative and manifest. The inspiration takes in the archetype and the creative world. The expiration, it releases the formative world and the manifested world. So when they're teaching you to meditate and focus on the breath, you're focusing on what the breath represents. Because the breath is spirituality, represents that balance. That balance represents these two worlds coming together. So when I inspire, I'm focusing on fire and water. When I expire, I'm focusing on air and earth. And now I know that as I inspire, I focus on the archetype and the creative energy. When I expire, I focus on the formative energy and the manifesting energy. You see what I mean? So now when it comes to an idea of meditation and I'm sitting down meditating, that thought that comes to me, when I breathe in with the thought, with this particular thought I'm sitting with, how can I make it archetypal and creative? Now I expire with that. And then as I expire, this particular thought that I'm breathing in and breathing out on, I'm getting the full creation right there as I meditate on it. That's why I tell y'all, when you meditate, don't try to silence the shit. Listen to it. Just breathe, but understand what it is to know what the breath means. Because the breath is balanced, but now you know what's balanced. It's the balance of two worlds. Well, four worlds, but it's four worlds with two worlds. It's the balance when two worlds come together. So it's like off the inspiration, I'm already balancing the archetypal and the creative world, and I'm merging them to create inspiration. On the expiration, I'm combining the formative and the manifested world, and I'm combining them to create, you know what I'm saying, to use expiration to give out, right? So now, when I apply this to my full life, right, that's just the basic side. So when I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out, and I'm learning the balance between these things now, when I understand my screenshot, when I understand my chart, when I understand how I am God, now I'm seeing, how do these worlds work together within me? You feel what I'm saying? Now we go into the astrological side of, the calculus and everything. Like you have the sign, you have the sextiles, you have the trines, you have the quincunx, you have the semi-sextiles, you have different things. And basically they're all off of mathematical perspectives. 30 degrees, 60 degrees, squares are 90 degrees, 120 degrees, 150 degrees, 180 degrees, 270, all increments of 90 and 45, 90, 30, and 45. Basically calculus. But anyway, these increments are very important because now you see, how do these things relate to each other? So now, for example, if you have signs in opposition, that means they're 180 degrees apart. That means they're opposites to one another. When you're reading this in your chart and it says these are opposites to one another, see how they are opposite. Is this a fire energy, a fire world, and a water world, right? Because now, even though they are in opposition, is what it teaches you in astrology. Oh, they're opposition, they're going to conflict with each other. Yes, they would conflict with each other because they're in opposition. But how were these worlds supposed to interact anyway? You feel me? Because now, when you look at the 180 degrees, it shows that you have opposition. But were these two things supposed to be in opposition with each other? For example, if we look at YHVH, right? The first YHVH, and you have fire and water, right? Now you have a placement in Aries that is opposite to a placement in Pisces, fire and water, right? These things were supposed to work together to make inspiration. Now they're at opposite ends to each other. So why are they in opposition when they were supposed to work together according to the way they're naturally supposed to be built? That's what you have to understand. So why am I in opposition between these two worlds within myself? Then you have to add in the planet's energy and all of these other things. So the way the astrological perspective plays out, you have the sign is the where, the planet is the what. No. The house is the where, the sign is the how, and the planet is the what, basically, when it comes to the energy. The planet is what the energy is. The sign is how that energy is going to be used, and the house is where. Right now, you have to figure out how these things all work within you, and now these worlds as they come together as I inspire, expire, or breathe, or have balance, or how I unite these worlds. So now, when you know oppositions are against each other, squares and oppositions, they're going to cause friction. Signs and sextiles and trines are going to be work more harmony with each other, whatever, because they're close in proximity. When you start to understand these a little bit better, then you start to realize, wow, this is what it is to use my divine connection. My divine connection is now I take these skills and resources that are me, that are my higher self, or however it is that I'm choosing to call it. I take these points and I use them in such a way that I am my absolute maximum self. You see what I'm saying? When you learn these things, now, this is why I tell people, don't just study this. Don't just do your natal chart so you can go flex and stand amongst people and say, oh, I love my natal chart. Now I got friends. No, use it, because now you're going to realize some of these motherfuckers ain't supposed to be your friends. Because now when they come into your space, you realize how they're supposed to interact with each other. This is the image and likeness I'm created in. That's the image and likeness you're created in. What does our reality happen? Is it two gods coming together? Is it two devils coming together? Is it a god and a devil coming together? Because it's based off of how the consciousness now has to interact with the other consciousness. We can't control how people are going to catalyze us, or if they've even made peace with a lot of the things that have to interact with us, but there's the potential for it to go either way. It can either be good or it can either be bad, but it's like, here's the energy that you two are going to be dealing with, or here's the energy that you have at your disposal. Use it how you want to. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. Like, a lot of, now, not weird, but a lot of motherfuckers who were drug dealers were actually entrepreneurs. Nigga, you just chose to be bad. You feel what I'm saying? Every motherfucker who's good at cooking crack is also good at chemistry, but doesn't know that they're good at chemistry because they don't spend time learning the shit. Because it's the same shit. There's placements for how your life, how your energy needs to be manifested, right? We be thinking, oh, this is a career path, this is major, this is not. Like, no, you could have went either way you wanted, good or bad. But chances are, when you see somebody or you see somebody who's gone another way, if they went down the opposite path or a path that was devil led or whatever the case may be, they will be doing the same exact thing, just a different way, just the opposite perspective. Same shit, because it's the image and likeness. It's the image and likeness. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what's brought out when this image and likeness comes together. I don't think we pay attention to that shit because we look at God so grandiose that we look at him as a he, as a man, as a motherfucker that has babies and shit, but we don't look at it for the essence that it was supposed to be. Nah, I ain't fucking nobody. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's why it was so important. That's why the Immaculate Conception of the Immaculate Conception of Mary was so important, because, again, another allegory. You feel what I'm saying? It was another allegory in a way. It's still like, yo, Joseph just, you got to deal with the fact that, like, imagine that shit, bro. Yo, you got to deal with the fact that your baby mama is not your baby mama, but you got to raise the baby like it's yours. Who could have wrote that shit? Who could have wrote that shit? Nigga that like simps and shit, simp nigga. But I don't know, bro. I don't know. I ain't gonna dwell on that. But I will dwell on is the fact that if we're not careful in understanding this, no, it's not. If we're not careful, because we got to be more vigilant in this shit. It's being manipulated. The way you are supposed to be expressed as God is being manipulated right now. You see what I'm saying? Going deeper than that. You know how I always talk about, Pluto and Scorpio, late 80s, early 90s babies, Pluto and Scorpio, right? It gets deeper because now, remember when I was telling y'all about JP Morgan, if I ever told you, he's like, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Billionaires use astrology because now they know how to cycle in the money from one individual person. And now they know how to do it from generations, right? With our Pluto and Scorpio, that means that there's a generation of people from a certain time pocket that are going to be affected by this. We target them. We don't give a fuck about the Aries. We don't give a fuck about the individual sun signs, moon signs. No, we give a fuck about generational collective signs, because we know that this sign is going. You guys are going to be like this for about 10 years. We can milk you for 10 years because we know how you think. We know what this energy is going to be for you, whether you know it or not. So we know that collectively you have to act like this or carry yourself like this. This is the image and likeness that you're likely going to be in with this particular time related to this. So we're going to make this stick. Y'all literally just seen the master reset for the next 100 years. You literally just seen it for the next 100 years. Like, it's not hard. All you have to do is zoom out of your sign. Start looking at shit that's more related to Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter and Uranus. Those outer planets and Pluto. Start looking at shit that's associated with those that runs for a longer period of time, and you start to see what they just did. Right? Because they understand who God is, and they gave you a bastardized version of what you think God is supposed to be. So now, while you thinking God is in essence, you can't respect it as the energy for what it is and see it for what it actually represents within you, and you can't see yourself in it. So now when I tell you that there's systems in place that it's like, yo, I'm not fucking with that system no more, because I understand what it was trying to do to the God in me. You feel me? That's why, like, when you hear people say namaste, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that was Indian said it. This ain't what it mean, but I know a motherfucker that said namaste means the light in me sees the light in you. I don't know. I ain't Indian, so I don't fucking know. But Indian motherfuckers say, that's not what that means. Namaste literally, well, what does it mean? It doesn't mean that. Well, you can't even tell me what the fuck it means, so shut the fuck up with your dumb ass. Feel me? But the light that you see, that's what the God represents. That's how your light is. Everybody wants the same light. No, you didn't. You weren't given it. Even twins. Like, I ran my twin siblings. I mean, not my twin niece and nephews natal chart. Their natal charts are slightly different. They not the same motherfucker. And it's crazy because I think they're like 5 or 7 minutes apart or some shit like that. That 7 minutes changed them. The neutrinos that hit, I forgot who came out first. I forget who came out first. But either way, the neutrinos hit one first and then they hit the second one. Now that 7 minutes was enough time to shift a small tweak to say y'all ain't the same motherfucker. Y'all ain't the same motherfucker. Y'all are gonna be impacted. Y'all are gonna be very similar, but it's gonna be a lot of fine-tuned details that are a lot different because your image, how you are God is different. You see what I'm saying? Where we at now going forward, we're not even on the is God real? Is God this and the third? Like when I tell people I don't have to believe in deities anymore because I understand them. This is what I mean. I'm well beyond that. This is why I don't argue with people saying, you feel me? When they be on some shit like, yo, you believe in this, like I ain't believed in shit in a long time, especially related to religion. Like I understand everything about this motherfucker now so well to the point where it's like, oh, you can't tell me what God is. You don't even know who you are. Ba-da-ba. You feel what I'm saying? But this is what gets me when people be like, yo, I know Jesus. I seen God work. I seen this and the third. You seen yourself and you have not given yourself the right credit. That's crazy, right? When you really think about it. Everybody that I know, I've literally watched people say, I've seen Jesus work, and I watched them be the reason why they did everything that they did. They can't give themselves credit because to give yourself credit acknowledges the God that is within you. But I have to honor the God that somebody gave me outside of myself to tell me that this is me. Our ancestors knew this. This is why they had to give us, when they gave us Christianity, this is why they had to give it to us in English. When they gave us the Islam, they had to give it to us in Aramaic. They didn't give it to us in our native tongues. The fuck? Because they couldn't enslave us if they gave it to us in our native tongues. We would have seen the allegory. We would have seen that this is a metaphor. We said, oh, we know where this came from. Mm-mm. That shit different. That shit different. So like I said, I'm at a point of understanding. So when I say the shit that I say, I'm not speaking from a space of belief. I'm never speaking from a space of belief. Speaking solely from a space of understanding what God really is. So when I say I am God, this is how I am God. Y'all can be shy and be afraid of the shit. It's like, I know how I'm created in the image and likeness of God. And I know that my image and likeness is different. But this is why I can't say God, because it's so much bigger than that word. Because now when I say God, you have to think about the Bible. What I'm speaking on extends outside of nature. That's why I call it the source or the universe. And when I say the universe, a lot of people say shit like, oh, God didn't create the universe. The universe is the universe. Universe, uni means one, verse means the opposition of the one. If that is not the division from singularity to duality, I don't know what is. Yod head, Vav head, to split like universe, the one word. The one word, the opposition to the self. Like that's what universe means. You see what I'm saying? All of this shit is not meant for us to be confused. All of this shit is not meant for us to be manipulated by the shit. It's meant for us to understand it, but we choose not to understand it because we believe in the shit. Y'all, this is just episode 1. I'm not playing anymore. Y'all need to know this shit. Y'all can't keep being manipulated like this. Study this shit for real, bro. Y'all ain't slow. Y'all ain't kids. Really sit with this shit and understand what it is like, and learn what the fuck that you're dealing with. Because what it's doing is it's creating a reality where we don't think that we have any participation in our lives. You know how many motherfuckers say you can't help who you love? How? You literally make a conscious choice every single day to go interact with a motherfucker that ain't no good for you. What does that say about you? You don't know who you are. You don't understand who you are. You don't care who the fuck you are. Because you go and interact with a motherfucker that's entertaining to you. They're not connecting with you on any level. When where 2 or 3 come to my name, God is supposed to be there. But when you are in a relationship, you have nothing but hell. Something's wrong. Let me break that shit down one more time and get a little bit more deeper with it. They say where 2 or 3 come together in my name, I will be there. But in a relationship, people have nothing but hell. Who's there in your relationship now that you two have come together? That means whatever it is that you two understand about yourself, if you understand about yourself, you only understand the negative side. You understand your devil side. And you allow your devils to come together. And you be shocked when the shit goes to shit and everybody is, you wasn't love, wouldn't disrespect. You said you love me. You said you this. You two love the devils out of each other. You catalyze the devils out of each other. What the fuck you think was supposed to happen? Won't no life gonna come out of that shit. You were supposed to destroy each other. That's all you knew. So now when you understand why they program you for the media, why they program you with all of these imageries and all these symbolism and all these things, and you think the music and the entertainment ain't what it's supposed to be? No, because the entertainment, now when we talk about those four energies, those four elements, air, fire, water, and earth, what are the three above that? Sound, light, and thought. Those are the unseen elements, sound, light, and thought. But when we look at the imagery, we look at media and we look at symbolism and imagery, that right there, those points hold those next elements. So we wonder why. That is how we create our image and likeness. Our image and likeness is predicated, we have it based off those four elements. But then the next three elements of creation, sound, light, and thought, when you get the imagery, when you get the media, when you get the radio, we get the music, get all of these things, that now tells you how you're going to use the way in which, no, the media, the image, and those three elements above that with the image and media and all that shit, that tells you how you're going to use how you're creating the image and likeness of God. If you do not have control over that shit, it definitely has control over you. And don't forget to check out Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all of the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Cafe Clothing. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Welcome back to season 10, y'all. We're going to get into it. I know for the first 9 seasons, I scared a lot of motherfuckers, and it was for a reason. Because now, like I said, we're mentioning those last three elements and mentioning where we are right now. If you've ever heard my episodes on chakras or heard me talk about anything on the chakras, and, I talked about the consciousness and 360 degrees and shit like that. The reason why I'm saving what I'm saving now for seasons 10 through 12 is because this is the second half of the 360 degrees. If you understand when I talk about the chakras, I always talk about there being 12. And with the 12 chakras, you have the finite and you have the infinite. We are now in the infinite chakral space, which is the darkness, double darkness, and triple darkness, or whatever the case may be, because we understand as we go from the colors, we go from blue to purple, which is crown, and then we go to black, dark black. You know what I'm saying? Then black is into the darkness and shit like that. We are now, after season 10, we're now walking into that first phase of the second 360, not the finite 360. So we're no longer in a square space. We're in the circle space. You feel me? And now I can let loose and talk about all of the shit. So we're going to talk about a lot of shit that's going to seem conspiracy, but it's not conspiracy. I can show you why it's not conspiracy. We're going to go down a lot of rabbit holes from these episodes now. But now you're pretty much prepared and you're able to handle what it is that I can give you. This is something that I've learned. And this is, again, when you're creating the image and likeness for real, and you know how you're creating the image and likeness, you know how you're supposed to deliver your shit to the world. A lot of motherfuckers have not reached the points that I have reached in life. So they can just disseminate information without understanding if people can even receive the information at first or not. There's levels. You see what I'm saying? If you're noticing, I'm doing jam sessions now a lot more. There's people that are hitting my DMs or whatever. I don't get it. I'm not rapping for y'all. I'm not. I am making my content and my music for my podcast audience. Because every word that I say, every bar, I've said those words. I've spoken those concepts in some way, shape, or form. Here, you'll catch every bar. A lot of people don't get that. Like I just want to give this information out. I don't know. I'm only going to give the information out to I know can have it. And now when I give my information out, I can give it to I know how you have to have it. You feel me? Because there's levels. But the number one foundational level is understanding your connection with your deity. It should never be, going forward, it's not a mystery anymore. It should not be a mystery. If it was never a mystery before, it's definitely not a mystery now. You are God. Now you get it. Now you understand how. When they tell you nobody's perfect, that's a fucking lie. There's no way in hell I'm creating the image and likeness of a deity and I'm not perfect. No two, look, twins can be born and the same. Twins don't even have the same natal chart information, right? So that means there's no other individual like you. Do you see why there's no other God before you? That why you should worship no other God? Because it is. You should not honor anybody's expression better than you should honor yours. Because you know you are creating the image, and now you have to figure out how. So a part of this how, of course, is your natal chart. Going over your numerology. Don't use them in the space of, yo, this is what I no, this is how I am God. Changes everything. Because now you're not looking at it just, oh, I'm Aries. No, this is how I'm God, bro. Wow. It makes you want to look at it more beyond than just, oh, I want a good relationship. Oh, I just want a good job. Wow. This is how I'm God. So that means whenever I'm in a space, I have an option to either be good or bad. Now, this is how I'm God, but this is also how I'm the devil. Snowfall is a perfect example of that shit. Franklin never changed between he just the shit made him ruthless. But at the same time, that is how he was God. He was the entrepreneur. He had all of this business savvy and shit. It was just drugs that he used. Wouldn't nothing have changed differently if he would have went the legit route? Same shit. Because that's who he was. That's how he was creating the image and likeness. When we see these people have these highs, these rises, and these falls, the fall always happens because you do not know. The fall usually happens because you are not aware of how you are God. Therefore, it's easy to do devilish shit. Or the shit that leads to your demise. You see what I'm saying? When we truly sit down, and we set our intentions to understanding ourselves, we will understand God at the same time. And the two things happen simultaneously. Believing you are a God, believing you are a deity is not blasphemous. It's blasphemous if you don't believe that, if you don't understand that. But again, tying it in, this is why I say I don't believe in shit no more. People, when I say that to people, because they have to base it off themselves, they say, oh, you don't believe and think I'm hopeless and I'm just wandering shit. No, I understand shit now. Belief is stupid. Belief is for kids, bro. Don't nobody believe shit no more. If you still believe in shit, you're a child. I understand shit that comes into my space and I'm like, this ain't, understanding God is the greatest form of freedom you could ever have, because not understanding him is how you got enslaved. It's obvious. You feel me? That's the power of knowing how you're creating an image of a deity. Now you can start going back, and when you look at history, all you got to do, this is why I'm so good at finding an antithesis with a snap of my fingers. Literally, I could look at anything and say, if this is what it is, what's the opposite? Bam, there's the truth in the middle. It's literally like that because I've been doing this for so long. You feel what I'm saying? But now when you strip that away from me, you don't let me see how I am God. Now I don't know how I'm supposed to interact with the world. Now I don't know how I'm supposed to interact with life. Now I don't know how I'm supposed to interact with humanity. So I have to do what I'm told. So now when you read the verses in the book that says, yo, you got to honor the laws of the land. Nigga, what? The laws of the land conflict with you. The fuck? You feel what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The laws of the land conflict with you because you guys missed the point. That's why there's no punishment. People are still shocked. Why are white people not? Because they created the balance. This is YHVH. They've created the balance and they're not fucking it up. Y'all confusion is what's keeping it going because you're choosing not to. And now if you know, they're not going to tell you shit. They might kill you if you start trying to tell how the system has chinks in armor, because you can't fuck this shit up. Because we got this balance sewn up well by the sole fact that they believe in this shit. Sole fact that they believe in this shit, they don't understand how they are God. Because they don't understand how they are God, we can use the God in them. Selling your soul is not like I take my soul out of my body. No, selling your soul is when somebody can manipulate how you are God. Motherfuckers that become rappers, sign 360 deals and all of that shit, that's how they sold your soul. I control how you are God. I control your artistry. I control how you are God, my nigga. Because you don't even know how you are God. That's why. You just think you can rap. You just think you can rhyme. It's levels to this shit, bro. And I want y'all to really learn these levels. So going forward, we're going to talk about how to get to these levels. Soulfrail 3, I really recommend you reading that. Even for the brothers, definitely. Because like I said, we don't have a spiritual practice as men. We just follow because part of the slavery, part of the enslavements and shit. We don't follow a religious practice. We don't use masculine spirituality. We use feminine religiosity because we follow the religion of the womb that we come out of. And that womb does not even understand the religion that it's following. It's solely doing it out of fear to make sure we don't die. You see what I'm saying? So we don't believe in that shit, because if we did, we would analyze it and deconstruct it the right way and put that shit the fuck down, because we're like, this conflicts with my reality. Until you understand what the reality is supposed to be. And that's what you're supposed to use to figure that out. YHVH is powerful. It's the image and likeness. Now you know how you're creating the image and likeness. There's no other person like you. Literally. Bask in that shit. Enjoy that shit. Embrace that shit. Use it to your fullest capacity. Learn your natal chart. Learn your human design. Learn these things. Don't use it as a point of, oh, I gotta stand over people. This is how you are God, bro. Sis, all y'all. Those charts that you're doing are how you are God. When you look at your name isn't by accident. Your name isn't by accident. The spelling of your name isn't by accident. The middle name, like the string and the orchestration of your name, is not accident. Again, tying it back to the grandmother thing. There's had to be, tying it back to it with my grandmother, I'm going to try to wrap this up. There literally had to be something, like all of this life led to the fact that my mother and my father came together to name me Racine Curtis McGee. Look at that. It took generations. Like both my grandmothers had to live a life that was allowed for them to be born and conceived at their certain ages, that allowed them to meet at a certain time, to get married and do whatever they're going to do, to have me at the certain time and name me the exact thing they named me. That's not an accident. None of that happened by accident. So now when I'm able to use all of that and put it into, say, this is how I am God. This is how I am Allah. This is how I am Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Yeshua. Always. This is how I am that. I am that I am. Do you see how it's been there the whole time? But because we have lost the fact that it's gone through several languages, it fucked us up. Fucked us up. And now we don't know what's what anymore. You feel me? To where now we think we're born sinners. Wow. We think we're born sinners and we're children of God. You are born sinners and you are children of God, and you will never ascend to who you're supposed to be. I can't make y'all see anything that y'all aren't prepared to see. I can only show the people who have the vision to see what I'm talking about. This is all here. I'm not speculating and pulling this shit out of my ass, but this is what I be talking about, how when you know who you are, you can't be shaken. I've had a lot of people say shit like, yo, you speak with conviction. As a matter of fact, what if you're wrong? I'm not. You know why I'm not wrong? Because I'm doing me. This is how I'm God. The way I study, the way that I learn, the way that I produce, like, this is how I manifested myself in image and likeness. I can't do Yahweh. Bars. I can't do Yahweh, but I can do Yahweh. But look, in that, I can only show you how I use the God in me. And that's where we getting fucked up with this conscious community and a lot of the shit, because a lot of people aren't doing the real study for real. So they're telling you, yeah, you gods too, blah, 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 blah. It's limited. I can only tell you how I manifested myself and show you that you can do this too with this principle, but our details are totally different. You can't do what I do. You feel me? When people be asking, like, how do you retain information? How are you so smart? How do you study this much? Like, what do you do like that? This is how I am God. I'm not like, this is not, your expression of God is different from mine. I have no control over that. There's shit that you can do at the snap of the fingers that I couldn't even fathom. You feel me? But this shit that I do now, like I say, I reminisce on shit that people haven't even fathomed yet, because that's how I am God. I no longer try to be anything other than myself. You feel me? When I was a time going through, school and I was trying to be a God that I wasn't, which fucks you up. That's not the God I was. That's not the God I was. I wasn't that God. I was good at being that God, but I wasn't that God, because there was limiting factors. Now I learned how to use every aspect of my essence and shit. It's like, yo, this is all me. This is how I'm God. I don't have bad traits anymore. I don't look at negative sides of my natal chart and shit, or my human design and shit. Oh my God, this is going to be so hard when retrogrades. You know why? Because I look at like, yo, this is how I'm God. And then now when I'm reading this book and I'm reading like, yo, if I create the destroyer of the world, like God a gangster, God do some gangster shit. He does some fucked up shit from time, he does some good shit from time to time. It's like, man, now it makes sense. Now I can understand and reflect it. They're simultaneously showing you duality of God, him being vengeful, wrathful, burning shit down, but then him being love and all of the shit, peace of peace and feeding people and all that shit. They're showing you the whole time and showing you that you can be in the image and likeness too, but your image and likeness is different. But we're trying to fit the image and likeness of whatever the Bible said. That was a 1 month. Did you know the Bible was written by the greatest poets of the time? I get it. People think, oh no, they got the book from our ancestors and shit like that. What you motherfuckers know right now was written by poets, Shakespeare and them. Them niggas have layered this shit with entendres out the ass, and you wonder why you can't understand the allegory. You barely understood to be or not to be. You feel me? Motherfuckers say Shakespeare is one of the greatest poets of our time. Whatever. Motherfuckers say Shakespeare is one of the greatest poets of the time, right? And then his shit didn't even rhyme, but you feel me? He's one of the greatest poets of the time, but it's the way in which he brought fantasy. He brought fantasy to reality, and you couldn't tell the difference. Like Romeo and Juliet was not a real story. Shit didn't really happen. It was historical fiction, but you can see him the way he wrote the motherfucker. You think this shit really happened. You don't think he had that same power when they got him and the other poets at the time to write the Bible? Can't even tell that it didn't happen. So much so that motherfuckers be arguing with me. The Bible did happen. It is real. Okay, tell me what the Pharaoh's name is. If that was a real historical document, they would have told you what the Pharaoh's name is, and all of the Middle Eastern people wouldn't have Caucasian names. But anyway, if that was a real historical document, why don't you know who the Pharaoh is? You just call him Pharaoh and never paid attention to that, did you? Never paid attention to that. You have characters for everybody except the Pharaoh, because when you learn the Pharaoh's name, the whole book stops because you realize it didn't really happen. And then now you have to force yourself to go into the allegory to see, how am I creating the image and likeness? And then you get into the stars, the numbers and everything, and you get to where you are, and then you get to where I am, and you get to where we about to go. You feel me? We got to it's time to take the mask off, the veil off, all of that shit. We are in the Aquarian age, y'all, and it's time to grow and build. All this scary shit is for the birds. Stop it. Your natal chart, your creation, your existence in this world is how you are creating the image and likeness of God. And that is how God is supposed to maneuver through this world. That song, what if God was one of us? It is. It ain't no what if. The fuck? But see, when y'all try to make it a singular thing, you can't see how you're creating the image and likeness of it. And then you can't appreciate your own individuality. You wonder why ain't nobody individuals. You wonder why you go to a school system for K through 12. Nigga, I don't want no gods walking around here. I need mortal humans. I need niggas who gonna do what everybody else is gonna do. I need motherfuckers who gonna follow the same shit, who ain't gonna make a move without something. Like, groupthink is a real thing, and they made us do it because there are no gods here anymore. Our ancestors taught that everybody was a god. They taught us that there are no gods amongst this earth. It's bullshit, because we're all creating the image and likeness of our deity. Now you know how. Changes things. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna wrap it up for real. When you converse with somebody about what, there can always be an argument. But when you go down to different levels of the questions, when it comes to this deity, I can answer what, why, how, when, where, and to what extent. That's why motherfuckers don't talk to me no more. A lot of motherfuckers can only talk about what. That's why you get an argument. You got to shut the fuck up when I talk about it, because when I'm at how right now. By the time we finish season 12, we're going to go to what extent. But now we're in that space. But there's more to life than just what we think we're dealing with. And when we finally accept that and we can come into our own and we know how we are God, now we know how God was supposed to move through us. Let him use you. Let him use you for real. Learn how you're supposed to be used. We always say let him use us, but we don't know how we're supposed to be used. I know how I'm supposed to be used. The shit that is very, very challenging to the average motherfucker that you find easy, that's God, nigga. When I put words together, motherfuckers is shocked. Like, how? I'm like, how can't you? If you ever ask somebody, how can't you? That's the God in you talking. Simple. It's like, nigga, this is easy. This ain't hard. Your God gets killed when you bring your God around somebody else who hasn't found theirs. They think they're human. Niggas is really crazy. That niggas is upset at me because, oh, you're a writer, you're this, that. This is what I've always been. This is how God was like. When I talk about so frail, they're like, where did that come from? This God, nigga. The ethers. I gotta say certain shit because now, yeah, I can tell like nigga, this is the God that I am. This is how like my experience in life made me visible. Like nobody, when I tell nobody else could see this, nah, because this was my vision. This is how I am God. That's how I was able to see masculinity this way. You see what I'm saying? Learn yourself. You learn yourself, you really know God. Like you seek God and you try to, you're gonna find it. It's not in the building, it's not in the churches within. You find your natal chart, you find your understanding of how you're connected to the stars. You don't really need your natal chart. You really sometimes you just gotta listen to yourself and turn off the TVs and the information and shit. You feel me? And just listen. You are in there telling you what you need to do, what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? But again, understanding your natal chart, understand what you are and what you are not, what you're good at. And these things, you start to explore deeper aspects of yourself. When you really accept that you're creating the image and likeness of a deity and you live like it, life changes for you. That's the final piece of this shit. I can tell you all about entrepreneurship. I can tell you about all of these things. You'll never be successful in life until you step into walking into how you are God. Everything that I do, when I tell y'all, oh, I just put on a record and I go and I always have gems, I am responding how I am God. I am not trying to be in the image and likeness of God. I'm not trying to walk in the image of Christ. I'm not trying to turn water into wine. The reason why is because Jesus represents the Pisces. I'm not a Pisces. I can't do it. You feel what I'm saying? Jesus, I think he was born in September, so he was like a Virgo or some shit. Anyway, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, nigga, you can't walk in the image of Christ. You can't live that motherfucker, but walking in the image of Christ consciousness. They never said walk in the image of Jesus. They said walk in the image of Christ. Do you see? The image of Christ is the highest expression of how you are God. When you understand your natal chart and you take your individual self to your Christ consciousness level, you're there. So now when I tell people, they think Christ consciousness means I'm supposed to wear white and walk around in veils and all the time. No. I'm just that raw being myself, which means I'm that raw being the God I am. This is how I'm supposed to be God. Cussing and all. You feel what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm saying. Like they be like, nah, my God, I don't know what kind of God you serve. Your God should be reflective of you. You feel what I'm saying? But you serve a God that ain't you. That's Caucasian. That's like, hey, you got to eat that shit. I'm not eating that shit no more. I'm done. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I'm a little rusty with these episodes. I ain't never took this much time off. I don't think so. I'm gonna get back into it. Mine's still all over, but yeah, we back. Season 10 is back. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And our kids, you already know that your kids are different. You already know your kids are different. Now you know how your kids are different. Don't let that God die in them. When they born, I mean, if you don't have to, but I am. As soon as mine are born, I'm probably gonna have their natal chart already. Like, I'm already gonna have the shit already. You're gonna be born on this date. The day they come, I'm gonna know what their natal chart is, their astrology, their signs, all of that shit. I'm already have their name done because I'm gonna name them according to, you know what I'm saying? It's certain shit that I got to think about, but I have to look at all of these different dynamics. And when our kids are born, we should be prepared for this. I promise you, it's gonna make it so much easier to realize. Like, you don't. When I tell people, you know, they be like, "Yo, parenting doesn't come with a manual." It does. The child. All you gotta do is listen to the motherfucker. That's how that being is God, and it's gonna tell you how I need to be God, which means how I need to fulfill my purpose, how I need to get back to the world. All you gotta do is help guide the motherfucker into the shit. But no, what we try to do is make the motherfucker fit our template that we never accessed, that we were scared to access because we were trying to follow the template of another motherfucker. That's why you end up trying to live through your kid because you think your kid is the God you are. The so fat that y'all got different birthdays. Even if y'all had the same birthday, still different times. Not the same. So don't subject your babies to that. Learn your baby's natal chart too. You ain't got to walk with them. Don't make them believe the shit, but understand this is how you are God. Wherever you choose to say it, you can say God, you can say Allah, Jehovah, you can say this is how you was smart, this is how you was important, this is whatever it is, whatever you feel comfortable saying, but let them know that this is how you are created in the divine image. All of this is your screenshot. So you have at your disposal all of this. But if you just believe I'm just the Aries and Aries are just mean people who just impulsively jump into shit. You just impulsively jump into shit and hope for the best. As an Aries, I impulsively can jump into shit, but as a Capricorn, I plan first. Now I merge these two energies to say, let me go ahead and plan. Now I dive into the motherfucker head first. That's why I'm good at shit. I learned how to use how I am God. Teach your babies how to do the same, but you got to learn it first. Once they do that, man, they be good. You're not gonna have to worry about what you have to restrict them from. They're not gonna fuck with what's not in their natural essence. You feel me? A lot of people be like, yo, I'm not gonna have to keep my babies from shit because I'm gonna let them know who the fuck they are so they know this ain't you. This is going to violate who you are as a person. They already know that. If it's in violation of who I am as a person, I'm not there. But when they don't know who they are, they don't know what's in violation of their person. And all they can do is keep tolerating the shit. And that fucks up our reality. We got to stop this shit. For real, y'all. We got to stop this shit. It's time for us to, we're not children anymore. I'm not talking to children anymore. I'm talking to adults now. And I'm trying to get y'all to this point. We having grown folk conversations from this point forward. Y'all ain't babies. Y'all gonna really get this work. You feel me? Get ready, because here it comes. So go kiss your babies. But yeah, make sure your babies are open as well and keep them straight. You feel me? You'll see the God that your child is already, and then just nurture that shit. And then when you see him becoming, it's like, oh, I feel like that's gonna be my greatest reward, knowing that I knew who my child was and I made them and I pushed them to become it. And they didn't they just lived life effortlessly and they became successful. They became everything that they were supposed to be because they got to live as themselves fully. That's what's going to make me proud. You feel me? Not no fucking degree. No, that don't mean shit because now they're miserable because that's not even who they are. You feel me? Now they get a degree because of whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's different. They're going to learn how to use everything that is within them. So I encourage you to do the same. But that's all I got for y'all. Welcome back to season 10. Go kiss your babies and make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all all on the next one. We back. So get ready. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.